That was a long sentence. I don't hear any audio. Do it. Oh, why? Oh, that's why. Because I had the volume so low. I adjusted the volume for the music, so it's loud, and so now I had to turn it down. So welcome to today's transcription of J.G. Zimmermann's Solitude. We're working on page 28. And now I am going to play as we continue today, and I adjusted the volume on all these things so they're really loud. This is a nice day at the park. Let's do it.
I won't give up. I won't come away.
Come away.
I'm not busy. Come away. I'm not busy. Come away. I'm free now. Come away. Come away. Where I need to go. Come away. It's so nice here. Come away. It's warm in the sun. Come away. My shoes are off. Come away. This bench is so nice. Come away. It's springtime.
Come away.
I'm not young, but I'm not old either. I know what'll happen if I follow you and I go. Oh, I don't want to leave yet. I want to stay here in this park and enjoy the sunshine. Warm spring air. Leave me alone. Let me rest and enjoy a moment of my life. It's not just work. Study. Come away. Think. Sleep. Just a moment now to sit in the sunshine. A warm spring day. Come away. I won't go. Not alone. Come away.
Well, that is one very, very dark. I don't know if it's interesting. I don't really remember what I was thinking when I made that one, but I do remember the circumstance. I was at a park, sitting at the park, and I was recorded the sounds of the kids and the circumstance, and then they come away. I'll need to listen to that more to see if I can remember what I was referring to. I mean, it's you know, perhaps death, or maybe to leave and go, you know, to the normal march of life. Here's something new. This is something that yesterday was provided to me by Nowarians, who created a new. They took one of my videos recently and made this. Just imagine an evening like this. People come. Sounds, busy people. Very nice for the skin.
It's nice to see you too. I'm on my phone today because, as you could see, it's raining hard.
It's like this. The day after you died, it's all going to go on without you.
really utterly without you, as if you were hardly even here, had not even been here. How important any of it. In the moment,
Thank you.
you know that there's that consequence. That first night, that first evening, that first sunset after you're dead, and then the world keeps on spinning, and you're left behind. Not just you, but me too. More me than you. I'm sharing with you my thought, for whatever it's worth. Good night.
Hello, Erica. Good morning.
Oh, good morning.
How you doing this morning?
All right. I have to use my phone today because I've been having some technical difficulties because it's raining hard outside.
Yeah, it is. I can hear it. I can hear it on the roof. Wow. Well, good. I'm glad it worked. I'm glad the phone worked.
Thank you. But yeah, with technology, as long as we have technology, there's bound to have issues, especially if there's like issues with the weather, you know.
Yeah, it does seem to be the way that technology is.
Yes, and how? Oh, and hello everybody, and also, how? What did you think about the article that that was sent on Discord yesterday?
Well, now I understand better what dropsy is. Thank you so much for researching that and sharing that.
Thank. You're welcome. It's just that, of course, I didn't want to look into gruesome images because I know it's a sad thing to think about. So I just looked up some about some articles and I mean, and like in in 1799, like around 1700s, yellow fever was also common.
Wow. Yeah, there was a lot of bad stuff going around in the bad old days. I certainly wouldn't want to live any other time than right now or the future.
Yes, yes. As long as we have vaccines.
Yeah. Thank goodness for medical science, huh?
Yes.
And I see basically Coffee has a comment, and thank you for your comment. I appreciate that. All right. Well, let's see. We've got, I've finished typing out the words. Let's see if we can make sense of them, shall we? I think I've got everything. Oh, I wanted to look up this guy, Timon. Let's see who Timon is. Timon. I've not heard that name before. Timon. It is Timon, but not the right. Timon, philosopher. Timon the Philos. Timon of Philos was a Greek pyrist philosopher, a pupil of Pyrrho, and a celebrated writer of satirical poems called Siloe. He was born in Philos, moved to Megara, and then he returned home and married. He next went to Elias with his wife and heard Pyrrho, whose tenets he adopted. So I don't know much about him, but that's okay. So he was a philosopher in the 3rd century BC. Or would you call that the 2nd century? Because he spanned the two. Just dig a little further. Works. The Celio, he wrote verse and poems. He wrote some prose too. Diogenes mentions a work of his. Okay, so that's enough of him. Let's see what J.G. Zimmermann had to say about him. So beginning up here on the previous page, we'll carry on from the previous sentence. Here we go, which actually has to go up 3 pages. This disposition, which he indulged to a ridiculous excess. So he's speaking of Heraclitus. So let's begin up here because might as well get the whole context. Heraclitus, the celebrated Grecian philosopher, was a native of Ephesus and flourished about 500 years before the Christian era. His melancholy, remember him, he was that melancholy philosopher. His melancholy and dejected mind forced him incessantly to lament and frequently to weep over the miseries and depravity of human nature. This disposition, which he indulged to a ridiculous excess, joined to an enigmatical manner of expressing himself, procured him the appellation. What am I missing? Hold on. Let me look at the book. Something went wrong. The appellation. What happened?
You all right?
Something's broken.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Let me see if I can figure this out. So there's what we did today. So to gratify I did something wrong. His discontented mind. Okay, so it looks like the transcription is correct. Discontented mind. Oh, what? Oh, I put mind in twice. The mind doesn't belong here. That's the first mistake I made. And there should be no comma there either. Did I go too far?
Don't feel bad. I do that all the time when typing. Like, I tend to write words twice without knowing. It happens.
Right. Yeah, it is a danger. Okay, so the austere and so I did something here. The austere and petulant Heraclitus abandoned all the pleasures and comforts of society in the hope of being able to gratify his discontented mind. There we go. By indulging an antipathy. By indulging an antipathy. Here we go. Now we're on the new stuff. An antipathy against his fellow creatures, flying from their presence. Flying from their presence. Okay, now we got it. Let's try to take a running start at this. I went too far. The disgust arising from the disgust arising from satiety of worldly pleasures frequently induces a temporary desire for solitude. The dark and gloomy nature indeed of this disposition is such as neither the splendors of a throne nor the light of philosophy are able to irradiate or dispel. The austere and petulant Heraclitus abandoned all the pleasures and comforts of society in the vain hope of being able to gratify his discontented mind by indulging in antipathy against his fellow creatures flying from their presence. He needs a comma in there. Yeah, I knew it. I missed a comma. Presence. Wait. Fly by creatures. He needs a comma right there. And it's the original here. You can see over here it has a space. See the space right here? I'm thinking up at the second line. I'm thinking there was meant to be a comma there. By indulging an antipathy against his fellow creatures, flying from their presence, he retired like his predecessor Timon to a high mountain, where he lived for many years among the beasts of the desert, on the rude produce of the earth, regardless of all the comforts civilized society is capable of bestowing. Such a temper of mind proceeds from a sickened intellect and disordered sensibility, and indicates the loss of that fine but firm sense of pleasure from which all real enjoyment must spring. He who, having tasted all that can delight the senses, warm the heart, and satisfy the mind, secretly sighs over the vanity of his enjoyments, and beholds all the cheering objects of life with, and then we go to the next page. So I think I get it. Let me try that again. The disgust arising from satiety of worldly pleasures frequently induces a temporary desire for solitude. So you're tired of all the worldly pleasures of the world, and you say, to screw this, I'm going to go alone into a little apartment somewhere and screw the world. The dark and gloomy nature, indeed, of this disposition is such as neither the splendors of a throne nor the light of philosophy are able to irradiate or dispel. So you're so bad that you couldn't, even if you were a king or a great philosopher, you still wouldn't get over it. The austere and petulant Heraclitus abandoned all, so he's an example of this, all the pleasures and comforts of society in the vain hope of being able to gratify his discontent. So he's such an example. He gave up on society and said, I'm going to satisfy my discontent by indulging an antipathy towards his fellow creatures. So screw everybody. Flying from their presence, racing away, he retired like his predecessor Timon, another loser, to a high mountain where he lived for many years among the beasts of the desert, on the rude produce of the earth, regardless of all the comforts civilized society is capable of bestowing. So he said, screw it all, I'm going to go live on a mountain in the desert, just like Timon did, and I'm going to try to just get by on nothing. Such a temper of mind proceeds from a sickened intellect and disordered sensibility. So the author is saying that doing that like that is actually a sign of sickness and disordered sensibility and poor sense of right and wrong, and indicates the loss of that fine but firm sense of pleasure from which alone all real enjoyment must spring. He who, having tasted all that can delight the senses, warm the heart, and satisfy the mind, secretly sighs over the vanity of his enjoyments, and beholds all the cheering objects of life with. Okay, so now he's changing to another, saying that a better way is those that have tasted all the joys of life, and then he's going to lead into a new idea, which is the next page tomorrow. Okay, I think that all makes sense. Now we only have 5 more minutes. We have to carry on from here because there's the subtext here. Let's not try to do the whole thing. We don't have enough time. Having, however, by this mode of living contracted a dropsy, he once more descended into, so he's talking about Heraclitus. Having, however, by this mode of living contracted a dropsy, so he was living poorly and he got sick. He once more descended into the neighboring cities and consulted so he had to come out of the mountains into the city to get his illness, his dropsy treated, which we know more about thanks to Erica, who shared the information in Discord yesterday. In his enigmatical way, respecting the cure of his distemper by inquiring whether their art enabled them to dry up a deluge. Okay, so he had like you pointed out in your article, so the dropsy is a buildup of fluids under the skin. I know that because of Erica did the research. Thank you, Erica. So can you dry up a deluge? But the physician, not satisfying his question, he enclosed himself in a dunghill under the idea that its artificial heat would dispel this superabundant moisture which caused his complaint. So he said, well, screw the doctor. I'm going to go bury myself in the earth, and then the heat will dispel the moisture. After repeated experiments, he quitted with regret at the age of 60 the world he had so much affected to debase. So I guess he died. The Ephesians expressed their astonishment when they first beheld this great man playing at marbles with children. I had rather, said he, amuse myself thus than have the management of your affairs. He used to say that quarrels ought to be stifled like fire, like what? Quarrels ought to be stifled like fires. Oh, fires. That's not. How did I get that wrong? Fires, the moment they break out, that it is more excusable for people to fight for the preservation of their laws and their lives, and that the nature of the human soul is inscrutable. Some fragments of the work of this extraordinary man still remain. They were published, together with those of Democritus and Timon, by Henry Stevens in octavo, in the year, and it's deliberately lowercase in the text, in the year 1573, under the title Polus Philosophica. We did it. Okay. One more page down in the books, Erica. I think you're muted.
It's wonderful, and it sounds to me that that the philosopher is pretty egotistical, and that he doesn't want to listen to like the doctors, that he wants to go his own way. But yet I do understand, because it is relatable, because sometimes we get tired of the world and we want to find a different route to make us feel better.
I think you summed it up perfectly. Yep, that's what he was doing and burying himself in a dunghill. What an apt description of going it alone with regard to medical advice, huh?
Yes, and also, could you give us more details on when you were in the desert a little bit?
What do you want to know?
Like, your journey, if you accomplished your purpose.
I did. Yeah, I think I did. I found I recognized and apprehended in terms of seeing it, the great indifference, and came back and said, well, in spite of the great indifference, I am going to make a good life, and I'm going to come up with some objectives and principles, and then live that life, and that's what I've been doing, and I've written the 3 books to cover that whole subject and completed them. So yeah, I think I did. I completed that journey.
That's good compared to that philosopher. I'm glad you didn't take an unfortunate route, and I'm glad you're still here.
Thank you. Me too. I'm very, very glad for that.
Yeah. Yes. Well, we're out of time. Sorry. So I'll let you go, and I hope you stay safe because of the rain, and I hope everyone stays safe wherever they are. It's raining here in California.
Yeah. You too, Erica. You be safe out there.
Thank you. I go to work today, so hopefully.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah. Be safe out there on the roads.
Okay. Well, goodbye, Mr. Kurt. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, Erica. Take care, everybody. Bye. Bye.